but the tour bus crossed the border, and when they got across, a rock slide had happened on the highway. So there was no way to get back into Skagway. The only way for them to get back to their ship was to drive like 9 or 10 hours up and through Canada into Haines and into the next town over, where that was apparently their next port day. Or I think what happened was the cruise changed their itinerary to be able to pick these people up. But it was crazy. I've never heard of that happening. I'm glad it doesn't happen to a lot of people.
Yeah, that sounds wild.
They'll remember that for the rest of their life when they got to, I got to tell you, though, beautiful road trip. They got a road trip that no cruising passenger will get, because they were going through exclusively mountain ranges. Like, there's no buildings. It's not like they're stopping at stoplights. It's all these winding mountain roads, and they managed to make it and get pretty good food along the way. And, that's the kind of caring about your customers that I like, because they could have just waited till the tractor moved the rocks away. Mm-hmm. But instead, they were like, well, we do want you to be able to continue the rest of your cruise. How are we going to do that? And immediately thought, well, we could drive to Haines, which probably cost thousands of dollars in gas for the bus and everything that they were doing. Like, I have no idea, but I'm glad that they did it.
Oh, and how many hidden figures are on the railroad?
I'd say like 6. There's a goat, there's Bigfoot,
I saw the goat and I saw the cobra.
Cobra too. There's a goat, there's Bigfoot coming out of the tunnel. Like, it's like a Yeti Bigfoot kind of thing.
Okay, I think I might have saw
There's like a Mickey Mouse that's got like vampire like fangs, and he's kind of like lunging, and like that's a weird one. Really, I think that those are just the ones I can think of off the top of my head. And as far as like, there are some like things done in the stone, like where people have stacked rocks and done cool designs with that, but those don't stand up too long, so
yeah,
they're almost not even worth mentioning. And then, there's also people have spray painted the side of the mountain. You remember, like, there's the big message, people were in Skagway, they use the mountainsides as canvases for, billboards and things like that. Uh-huh. And so there was this On to Alaska with Buchanan on the side of the mountain right underneath the American border crossing facility. There's this guy that like used to bring youth group trips to Skagway, and when he passed away,
I remember
they put his name up on the side of the mountain. And that's another cool just hidden thing, not to say hidden, but there's a lot of Easter eggs to the railroad that once you know about them, it's really cool to be able to see it. Actually, my favorite Easter egg is there was at one point a train car that got locked up on the track, and they were decommissioning the train anyways, so they figured we don't even need this caboose right now. So they disconnect it from the rest of the train, take the rest of the train either to Canada or Skagway, whichever direction it was going, and then come back and topple this train car off the side of the cliff. And it has fallen and smashed to a bunch of pieces. This would have been probably in like the 70s, 80s. And it's been covered with snow and thawed and covered in snow and thawed. And during a very specific window of time during the summer, you're able to see it completely uncovered, still sitting there as rubble. And that's always fun because, it makes people nervous that they're going to crash into a thing. And then you get to that bridge that's broken in the middle. And it depends on the ethics of the tour guide, but I've gotten people to cry thinking that the bridge is actually out, and for some reason we're full speed going at this thing.
I remember that. I remember that part because I was like, I saw it because I was like leaning against the window and I was like, it looks like the bridge is out. And I was like, we're still
going full speed right towards it.
And like started looking around like, has anybody else noticed that the bridge is out? The bridge is out? And I like started like
See, I prefer to articulate those thoughts myself to the entire crowd. Because if that is what a person would think looking at it, I think saying it out loud like this is unusual is so funny to me. There's nothing better than just getting someone worked up for no reason.
Right.
Like, and it's not necessary. Like, it's not a thing that I do all the time, but it is funny to see it. And it is one of those things that immediately you bail on and get back to the tour. Because there's no payoff other than you don't crash and die. You go through a tunnel instead.
It is, you can, didn't they say that it collapsed one day, like during the pandemic?
During the pandemic.
It was pretty recent.
Yeah, it was standing for like a century, and then like a century and a quarter, and then they closed down for the pandemic. And I don't know that it had to do with like a lack of maintenance. I just think it was its time to collapse. And so a lot of the tour guides who were there in 2019 came back in 2022, saw it for the first time, collapsed, and it was just a new part of the history we had to deal with. And that happens. Also, really, this is the truth. The best part of the White Pass and Yukon Route Railway is when you can see bears and when you can see animals.
I was going to ask if you'd ever seen any. Because they said you might, but it's rare.
It's because there's a train going by, and they're wise enough to not be sitting on the tracks. But dandelions are intoxicating to bears, and tons of just wild dandelions are growing everywhere in Skagway during the spring. And so there is that point where they'll just be eating dandelions and drunk off their ass and sitting right next to the track. And there have been times where I feel like we went by and it was waving at us. I know that's not true, but it sure does feel like that. It was just chilling. And seeing that, eagles are usually pretty cool. Mountain goats are pretty common. I had one lady point out of the window one day on the train and say, "It's a monkey." And I have no idea what she saw. I have no clue what she saw. She was so confident. And then I explained to her that there were no monkeys, and she didn't take it back. She didn't accept that it wasn't a monkey. She just assumed that I was wrong in my primate knowledge.
To double down. Yeah, you know the Arctic monkeys.
They're the Arctic monkeys. Jesus.
Yeah, that's so funny to just be like, I know you live here, but trust me, I've been here 3 hours.
I've seen a monkey.
I have seen it. It's
and
right
also,
there.
Monkey doesn't mean anything. That's an incredibly vague term.
Yeah.
And she means all of primates.
Yeah,
but... Yeah, I have no idea what she saw or what was even close.
I'm sure this 54-year-old
woman
from Lincoln, Nebraska, knows
a monkey when she sees
an Arctic
one.
monkey when she sees one. She's
Absolutely.
like, I saw this on Discovery Channel. I know what I saw.
Yep. All right, we got to get to a new question because I've just been rambling about trains.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was another thing that I was impressed by.
Yeah.
What is your best fact about Soapy Smith? Can you explain the lore a little bit?
I gotta explain the lore.
You don't have to. I know it's a
he was
4-hour tale.
He was born in Georgia. His grandfather was a legislator or whatever. But anyways, they move west. He sees a guy playing the shell game, gets conned by it, loses all the money he saved up, and realizes that, if this guy can take all of the money, that means that I could make that money in that same amount of time. Mm-hmm. He realized that, this guy's making money a lot faster than he is, apparently. And he's like, well, how do you do that? And he begs the conman, basically, to teach him how to play the shell game. And reluctantly, somehow, he does talk the guy into it, which is mind-blowing to me because how convincing do you have to be that a guy that his entire personality is being dishonest with you opens up and starts to tell you things? So there has to be a certain amount of persuasiveness there anyways. But he travels around through Texas, gets up to Colorado. When he gets up to Colorado, he opens a bunch of businesses and kind of starts running things a little bit like a mob boss. But his main scam that he's doing is called the soapbox racket, where he would stand on a corner, he would have a bunch of different bars of soap, he'd open one up, put a bill of any amount in it, and then mix it in with the other ones. And the idea is he'd say, this isn't the only bar of soap that has money in it. The sooner you start buying them, the sooner you have the opportunity to make money. Of course, you do know that your odds are better if you wait and see the people don't buy them, but it's fine. The first 2 or 3 people that show up end up pulling bars of soap with money, and these are people that worked for him. But this entices the crowd to the fact that all of these must have money, and so when they start buying them up and opening them, they don't have anything in them except for maybe occasionally something that was like a tenth of what you spent on it. And they still do this today. You can go to gift shops. There are museums across the country that have money soap. that you can buy. It's literally a rolled up kind of Coke bill inside of a bar of soap. And it's like, could be $100 in here, and it's very rarely ever going to be $100 unless you see it online. If you see an influencer open it, it's amazingly got $100 in it.
Yeah.
And that's how it's the same scam. It's the same scam as, and these are cute. Like, I understand that you can completely take advantage of somebody by giving them nothing for a lot. Or, there is like a median version of this, like the surprise boxes, or like when you melt a candle and it might have a ring in it.
Yes.
Like they sell those kinds of things. Now, obviously, this is not going to be a multi-$1,000 diamond ring and never will be. And that is a little bit the surprise of what's inside. But when you are just playing with money and just taking that from people, that's pretty intense. Like, that's a crazy thing to do. But he was doing that for a while. Eventually, the gold rush kicks off in Skagway, and he's already not really popular in Denver anymore because you can only scam small towns so many times before you run out of all of them. So he moves up to Skagway, where nobody knows anybody because people from all corners of the country and world are showing up, and he starts setting things up like he has been here for years. Now, obviously, he hasn't, but he sets things up like, for some reason, he's the most legitimate person in town. Mm-hmm. So he sets up a telegraph office, he sets up his own barber shop, he sets up a bunch of stuff like that, and then starts running these scams out of a gaming parlor that he was operating. And so he kept doing that. The telegraph office never connected to anything, so they weren't able to send out messages. The barber shop was just a front so that they could, mark you in some sort of way that the other con men in town knew that you had money and that you were primed to take advantage of. And there was a lot of that kind of stuff. And Frank Reed, who was the town surveyor, saw all of this and said, I don't like it. Like, I don't want some guy in our town doing this. If people realize that they're going to get robbed as soon as they start coming through Skagway, they're going to stop coming through Skagway, and then the town goes away. And this was a really big issue for this town that had been around for 2 years. Like, the idea that it's not going to be here anymore was just so heartbreaking to Frank Reed that he formed like committees in town, and he would keep trying to talk away the con men and trying to talk them down and get the town riled up. But they were always dwarfed by whatever meetings Soapy would hold, just for the sake of trying to distract from the other meetings that are going on. He would just throw better parties. Mm-hmm. And so people would show up to those, not really go to Frank Reed's whining, and he continued on. And then a man comes into town with like a big sack of gold, puts it in the bank, gets invited into the parlor, and when he gets invited into the parlor, he starts talking about the money that he made and how he's going to get it assayed down in Seattle. And the Soapy's men look at him and they say, what are you talking about, Seattle? You out of your mind? There's nothing but a bunch of crooks in Seattle. If you go to Seattle, your gold is as good as gone. But listen, we actually have a really big project coming up pretty soon. It's going to need about a lot of gold. Yeah. So if you bring it here, because we need it so urgently and we don't want to have to go all the way up to Dawson, we'll give you more than spot price for it. Just bring it in. And he goes to the bank, grabs out all of his gold, and before he even makes it back to the bar, he gets hit over the head, and all of his gold gets stolen. And he comes to and realizes all of his gold is gone, realizes who's taken it, and starts telling everybody in town that will listen. And Frank Reed hears this, decides that he's going to get louder with this committee of 101, invites everybody back, and tells each of these people to invite other people. So go out and find more people. And so this keeps growing throughout the day until eventually it doesn't fit in any of the buildings in Skagway, so they move out to the wharf. And when they're out there, Soapy, who's heard about this, and has been kind of drinking in his bar the entire time, goes down to the wharf with a pistol and a shotgun, just in case. Got to keep it on you. And he goes into this meeting, and he's not met well, and a shootout basically goes. And Soapy Smith gets shot through the heart. Frank Reed gets shot through the groin. They both die on their own time, but yeah. So that's the story of Soapy Smith.
I went through, as Ellis was telling us as we went
a lot more eloquent on the tour, too.
He also had 4 hours to really tell. He would tell a chunk, then move on to something else, then tell another Soapy chunk. Then move on
and it's
But I went from hating Soapy to liking him to hating him to being like, I kind of get it. Like, I don't know. How do you feel? Are you anti-Soapy or pro-Soapy?
My attitude is there are tons of families that would be more prominent today if Soapy Smith wasn't around.
Oh, I'm sure
there's a ton of people that went up and suffered and struggled and did everything that they had to do and did everything right up until the end. There were very few people that were just getting robbed. A lot of them lost the money on their own accord. Like, this was gambling. This was money that they were putting up. So there was the chance that they were going to lose it. But I do think that, I actually also, right now, in that thought process, came to the conclusion that if he didn't do it, somebody else would have.
Right.
It's asking for there to be completely honest people in the world, and it doesn't work that way.
Right.
So one of the things, for example, where I am kind of pro-Soapy is that he was very pro-animal during this time. So during the gold rush, a lot of people were bringing up pack animals and things like that. And somebody found out that they could use sled dogs to get up to Dawson City. And that could be a big part of helping them get up there. And so they started going down to the lower 48, and this wasn't Soapy's men. These were just random people who wanted to sell these dogs. Went around and started gathering dogs like out of people's yards and stuff. Not even paying attention to size or breed or anything like that. Just dogs. And putting them on a ship and brought them up to Skagway. And when they realized that like 80% of the dogs they got were not useful at all for pulling a sled, like poodles or whatever, they released them just all over town, and they started running rampant. And Jeff Smith and his men round up all of these dogs and end up finding homes for all of them. That was a really cool thing to do. There was a lot of money that went through Soapy Smith's hands before it went back into building the initial infrastructure of Skagway. And so I do have to say, to a degree, you have to give him credit for that. Even though he was very shortly after beginning run out, you should give him a little bit of credit for starting. The full-on con man thing, like, I understand the romance of it, like if it was a movie, but the real life taking advantage of just people just doesn't sit well with me.
No, yeah. That's obviously bad. That's why it's like you don't like him, and then you kind of like him, and then you don't like him. And his grave is there in Skagway, and it's surrounded by...
like metal bars.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm. It's like rebar.
Yeah, because he never was jailed for any of his crimes until he died.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And that is cool. That is like an interesting part of it. But I've also been to enough old cemeteries that I think they were just afraid of vampires. I don't think it had to do with karmic justice or anything.
Well, from what I remember, and I saw it once in passing from a train, but from what I remember, the bars aren't even that tall, are they? They're
I think
probably
it's
like
to prevent people from just who aren't paying attention.
Just walking over it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes more sense. But if it was to prevent vampires,
I don't know if this is true. This is like one of those things that you hear in Skagway, but it was never written in a book anywhere. Uh-huh. That there was a rock slide or something at the cemetery, and there's nothing even there anyways. And this is a rebuilt cemetery, which is weird if it's true. I don't think it's true. I think just because of the way it's laid out and the way everything is, it seems like it was just put there. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like a planned out like tourist attraction, because what a terrible tourist attraction. That's... Because there are people that, instead of going on the train, they pay to go to the cemetery.
Yeah, that was one of the options, and we were like, "Why would we go to the cemetery?"
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, they think they sell it
and
now
there's no
as
ghost
there's
tours.
a hiking trail. And
yeah,
there's whatever.
There's no ghost tours through the cemetery. If there was, you could justify it that way, because I'm sure a ton of people would want to go to a ghost tour through the Skagway. But yeah, there's not. So it is just unusual that they're just taking you to a cemetery because it's neat, and these people were from 100 and some years. It's that's not relatively. That's not that long ago.
No, not at all.
These are people that your grandparents could have known.
So that's very true. My sister married a guy. He's from Australia, but his family is Greek, and so he's been to Greece and stuff like that before. And then when he came to America, like we were taking him around and showing him stuff, and we're like, "Ooh, Nick, look at this! This bridge is like 200 years old." And he was like, I've seen the Acropolis. You know what I mean? He's like,
I've been to Mesopotamia.
Yeah, he's like, I've seen a 2,000-year-old building. We were like, oh right, yeah. Comparatively, this is not.
No. It just the idea like 1776 was the beginning of the world for us is insane to me.
Exactly.
Because my buddy just spent a lot of time in Europe, and it was talking about how you just be in a building that's not even anything today. It's kind of a stupid shoe store or something like that. But it's like marked with this building was built in 20 or whatever year.
I was looking at going into Boston one time, and I was trying to see like you can there are like tours that show you historical sites. There's one place, and I can't remember what it is, but I think it was a bookstore or something significant to the American Revolution, and now it's a Chipotle.
Oh, wild!
But like. It's still in the same building. It's like, well, this is where Paul Revere kept his horse, and now it's a Chipotle.
Yeah, now it's a Jamba Juice.
Yeah, welcome to America.
It's crazy. I mean, there is a certain point where it's like, well, why would you want to keep, like, other than it being a historical place? But yeah, no, that drives me crazy. Especially because, I mean, even the oldest that we get, in this country is like 650 or like 630-ish.
Yeah.
Like just the stuff that like the pilgrims would have been dropping off. I don't know.
Have you ever,
I don't know about pilgrims.
Plymouth Rock?
Yeah, they drop that off.
Have you ever
It's
seen
miserable.
A picture of it?
Isn't it like a thing surrounded by rebar and it's just a rock?
It's just a rock, and it's not even like a big one. Like you think like, oh, it's this big monumental rock. No, it's about, I don't know, it's about this big.
If somebody had wanted to, they could have moved it.
Yeah.
A couple of dudes.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's crazy to me. I also grew up in Florida, so St. Augustine, which was, I guess, the second oldest city in the country.
Okay.
It's the oldest continuous, I believe, city in the country. But there's one that was there, and now it just fizzled away.
Yeah.
But yeah, St. Augustine has a bunch of old stuff too, and I love history, and I love being able to actually touch and see things that were around a long, long time ago, like the kind of building materials they were using in St. Augustine. And when you get to different places with different ecosystems and different mineral makeup and stuff like that, they were using like shells and mud to build these old buildings, and these are like multiple stories high and just these gorgeous kind of shell buildings, and it's crazy to think that it's lasted all this time, and nothing, not flooding, not anything has destroyed these things. Is really impressive. Anyways, that's my favorite thing about Soapy Smith.
No, that's what I was hoping. I was hoping it would, take you off on a tangent, take you off on a little.
This is going to be 9 hours.
Yeah, no. I think I only have like one more question about
Is there a way
Skagway.
to pause this? Wow, we sound like real people when that's not on. We got to start doing ad breaks.
Yeah, this is brought to you by
Audible.com. Are you tired of reading?
DraftKings.
Do you want it to be that only the rich and successful are able to read? Audible.com. Oh my God, my favorite book is Mel Brooks's.
No, sorry, I just do that so that way
No, you do your final one so that when you find that cut point, you actually.
No, that's fine. Any clap. I've got a producer, Bree, and she looks for it. And...
Well, Bree is going to have a nightmare with this interview, trying to cut it into some coherent thing. Good for Bree. We're glad to have her.
So yeah, I think I have one more.
Oh,
I
dear.
forgot. I added this just because here's a picture of Nugget in your element. But I don't know. Has anyone ever? What's the best haul somebody's gotten while panning for gold?
Yeah. So I can't even remember his name. It was one of the tour guides in the past. Gave someone a pan because they all are budgeted out.
Yeah.
You know,
I
to
kinda
a certain
figured
degree,
that.
because when you're dealing with gold, especially right now, gold is skyrocketed through the roof. Now, the way that the company works is that we are locked in at a rate with the cruise line for a certain amount of years. So for like 5 years, we get this contract with the cruise line that they'll sell on their ship, and we keep everything the same. And so for the most part, the gold getting more expensive, thousands of dollars every year, has gotten a little bit crazy. The most someone's found and like taken to the gift shop and it brought it up to us was about 16 grains of gold for like one person. And that was because the tour guide handed out a pan that was meant for the show in the middle that you got pictured there.
Okay.
Somebody, because that show, you've got like, 50 people, sometimes 100 people surrounding you. And you've got to take... they got to see the gold and everything like that.
Yeah.
Now, I believe it sets an unrealistic expectation a little bit, but you do realize you're doing a show.
Well, and they do a very good job of explaining to you, hey, there is no gold in Skagway. It's brought in.
And that's like somebody who's got a couple brain cells rubbing together. Unfortunately, a lot of people, even having been told this all day, will ask, so why aren't we panning in the river? Why don't we go down there and do that? And I almost want to say, please go.
Yeah, just go ahead.
If that's what your heart, if the mines are calling you, whether or not they're going to pay out or not, go down into the water and you try your best. But yeah, there's no gold in Skagway, and you'd have to think that, because otherwise, why would they have walked all the way up and into Canada?
Exactly.
If there was gold here, we would have stayed here.
Why would so many people and horses have died on that trail if it was all right here?
Yeah, if it was all in. Oh my God, and it's. Some people just don't listen. Some people are genuinely in vacation mode.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, I'll never be disrespectful in the moment.
Yes,
because
of course.
the idea is like, some of these people, I mean, they paid for a cruise, must be doing at some point well enough for themselves to be going on a vacation like this, and taking the time off and doing all of that. So, and like, it's no small thing to come to Alaska. So, there are some people and some, tour companies and things like that just genuinely think of their people as stupid. Like, for some reason, they're stupid for showing up in the first place. And so, yeah, we've already tricked them into being here, so we shouldn't do a good job, is kind of a crazy mindset. So we try our best to at least provide an experience that's pretty good. So, like, even though, like I was saying, even though the price of gold has gone up significantly, we could look at it and say, well, let's take the cost that we were originally putting into the gold and still keep that cost. And so the amount of gold we will have is less, but we'll divide it up still as evenly as we can.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have lost anything that way. But we've pretty well been adamant that if we're going to do it, we're going to try to make it the same, if not better, if possible. And we've adjusted, because raw gold comes in so many different forms, from like, these like half an inch, like not half an inch, but maybe half a centimeter flakes to like stuff the size of dust. And so there is a range of it, and trying to find the right balance of that where people aren't leaving with nothing, but also, we aren't.
You're not giving away billions of dollars.
Yeah, it wouldn't hit billions, but it's not worth. It's not that it's not worth doing, but it doesn't make sense as a business. So the most gold we found was a little bit of an accident, and probably the most I've seen a family do of like 5 or 6 people was probably about 10 grains, like as a group, and that's about 1 to 2 each.
Oh.
So yeah, that's about average.
I think I walked away with my little, because they put them in like little film can, the old film whatever containers.
I like them. I have so many at my house.
And I actually still have mine. I found it in my windbreaker, which I hadn't worn since I was there.
That's great.
And I was like shaking it, and I opened it up, and it was a little piece of paper in there, and I think I had like $21 or something like that. I was like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I believe a little bit that is like the retail price of gold.
Yeah.
Like, so I have no idea how any of those numbers work. I know that they are on a chart, and this is the chart I get to read from.
Yeah.
And so
it was just a fun. So the whole reason we chose this,
I care about the lesson. Like, I care about the why it works more than the gold itself.
Yeah.
Just because it's common sense, and it's like it was people figuring out like something that just made sense. Like the fact that rocks of different heavinesses will, sort themselves out in a thing. It seems like simple, but the idea that nobody knew that for a long time, and the idea that today, with all the information that we have, the idea that rocks are going to go, heavy rocks will go lower than the lighter rocks, is still a novel concept to people.
Yeah.
That cracks me up all the time. I do like that it's an antiquated thing. I do like that it's a skill, and so people are learning something new.
It's 100% a skill. My son, the very first thing he did was just dump his whole pan out into the little trough thing.
And you scoop it up?
Yeah. Somebody came around and scooped it up again for him, and he ended up with a couple flakes or whatever. But I was like, oh, yeah.
Well, and that'll definitely happen, and it's definitely worth just letting someone try again.
Yeah.
Like, because even if you've just dumped the dirt right there, as a fact where your gold is. It's probably still jumbled up in that dirt. Yeah. Preventing someone from just reaching in and grabbing that, it seems silly. But you do get people all day that will just stay as long as they possibly can and try to go table to table, going through all of the dirt, trying to, like it's a job or something.
Yeah.
And, that is always unusual. Like the people that really think that this is what mining must have been like.
We're going to make our money back for the cruise if we just make it to this other table.
If we just make it to table 3.
Yeah.
And, I quite literally... There will very rarely, like maybe at the end of the summer, if we never did a clean or anything, there might be enough money for someone to pay for a couple cruises. But again, that's over a few months.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
But it's crazy to me because I do try to figure out how the actual numbers of it make sense. And it's crazy to me because we've got to get the gold. So somebody pulls the gold out of the earth. And we then buy that from them. And we do that before it goes to a refinery, so they're not melting it down. They're not removing any of the impurities. This isn't like 24 karat gold. This is like as natural as it can come out of the earth, but there's definitely mineral deposits and things in this gold that would need to be cleared. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what I was thinking with that, other than...
just that it sorry. Just the way you guys get the gold and stuff like that.
We get the gold. It comes to us raw, and then when we get it, we then have to put it back in dirt and mix it all up so that it gets more evenly divided. And to me, it's kind of crazy that people don't figure that on their own. Because I've had enough people ask me, where does the dirt come from? And, like, it doesn't, because we used to, until I feel like I made a case for this, we used to say that the gold, like the pay dirt and gold gets shipped down from the Yukon, and is as it is, and we just scoop it into pan. That doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. Because if it was such rich dirt that every scoop of it got like 5 or 6 flakes or like whatever, they wouldn't sell it to us.
Yeah.
They would have mined it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we're getting raw gold. Like everybody needs to at least appreciate that a little bit.
Yeah.
That I am giving a lot of industry secrets away. Well, I did just give away the last herb and spice.
Oh, it's all right. If we need to cut this out, we can. I don't want you to get in trouble.
There is a little bit where it's like I do have to keep up the illusion.
No, I understand, but like I said, you guys do a good job.
But we're not dishonest.
No, you're not being dishonest. You're saying you tell everyone there is no gold in Skagway.
Yeah,
people came here to find gold.
The dirt is from the river. I'll give you that.
There is no gold, but we don't want you guys to not get to experience it.
How insane would it be if it was realistic? Like if we gave them the real experience of going and finding nothing.
Or of leading a old horse that's dying up a trail and then having to carry stuff up the side of a mountain.
I kept pushing that all of last year. I was like, how great would it be if we had a dead horse like petting zoo where it's like they're just barely hanging on. And I said it's great thematically, it's great business-wise because you don't have to pay them, or you don't have to pay them and you don't have to feed them, which is great. Yeah.
It's just like a family house.
And what are the animals? What are the animal right activists going to do? Come to Skagway? Yeah, right. Like, they're not going to buy a ticket.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck getting up here. No, I did think of that a couple times, but yeah, it's just morbid.
It is morbid, but it is fun.
I can't imagine the smell, and I'm saying that with my shoes like this, but I can't imagine the smell of walking through that genuinely.
Yeah.
And then doing that again and again. While they were building the railroad, they lived right next to it. So it was like just on the outskirts of the Dead Horse Gulch. They were sitting there, you know, in tents and everything.
And the Dead Horse Gulch, which we might need to explain to people, was... There's no gold in Skagway. There was gold in Canada.
Yeah.
In order to get to Canada,
oh,
there
yeah,
was
because
one
I told
trail.
about Soapy Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was one trail to get up. You could do your Cliff Notes, but I did.
I feel like I'd screw it up, but I...
No, it was that there were a couple trails out of Skagway, or out of Skagway and Dyea, which are neighboring cities, separated by one mountain. Mm-hmm. And so there was one trail called the Chilkoot out of Dyea. The White Pass was out of Skagway. The White Pass was advertised as being pack animal friendly, whereas the Chilkoot was not. Everybody on the Chilkoot knew they were going to have to hike on their own the whole way. And so a lot of people were going over to the White Pass, but the pack animals that they were bringing along with them were not healthy. These are like retired farm horses and donkeys that they were able to get as cheap as they possibly could. And then they didn't know how to handle livestock, so they were killing these animals. And then once they died, they basically took their supplies off the animals' backs and just left the animals there. And the prospectors following them and then them on the way back would just trample over these animals until they became part of the trail. So a lot of these people were just walking through like blood and bones of the Chilkoot Trail, the White Pass, you know. And yeah, when they were building the railroad, like I said, they were staying right outside of that. So when they officially passed the Dead Horse Gulch, everybody moved out of what was called White Pass City because they were now able to take the train immediately past the Dead Horse Gulch and nobody had to walk through there again. Mm-hmm. Now, White Pass City, if you were to go down there with some metal detectors or something, you might find some pickaxe heads or things like that. Things that were like substantial and built to last. But things like gold pans have pretty well all turned to dust by now.
Yeah. But I found that part really interesting, in that isn't there some hill or some part of the trail where like it's like straight up?
Yeah, it was the Golden Stairs was on the Chilkoot, and it was a couple thousand steps, and these people had to walk up it single file. And so they had 50-pound bags on their backs, and this was because Canada was requiring everybody to carry 2 tons of supplies across the border. Uh-huh. Like they had to have it once they got there. So if they didn't have their 50 or their, you know, they had to carry as much as they could. So most people averaged about 50 pounds. So they were carrying that much weight on their back. They were climbing up stairs that were carved into snow and ice, and they were holding onto a single length of rope, hoping that nobody fell backwards and knocked them clean off the mountain. It was fun to watch if you weren't on the mountain, but, you know, if you were in that line, I imagine that sucked. And then there was a really big avalanche that took out the Golden Stairs, and that was pretty well the end of Dyea and the Chilkoot.
Well, I can't imagine. It's like you climb all the way up the stairs, you drop off your 50 pounds, then you just go straight back to the bottom, grab another 50 pounds, go up to the top, drop that off, come back down.
And there were, yeah.
And you do that until you've reached your 2 tons of equipment or whatever.
And that's considering that the trail is just those stairs.
Right.
And they're taking it all the way from the town, like 40 miles. Well, ultimately about 600 miles. Mm-hmm. And they're carrying this stuff. And there is a while that they have boats and they're able to load stuff on that for a little bit. But again, when they hit like sandbanks and other things that they can't just take their boat over, they had to completely unload these ships and now figure out getting the supplies across the river or wherever they needed to go. It was an incredibly difficult thing. It was a testament to just human endurance and courage. Just the fact, or perseverance more than anything, like the fact that they were able to not all die, you know, up in the winter in Alaska, you know, in some of the coldest temperatures these people would have been in their entire lives. Like the fact that 30,000 of the 100,000 people actually completed the journey all the way up and into Canada is very impressive. Because I can't think of 30,000 people that would do something like that today.
No.
And I do think about, you know, there are other places in the world where people are making big journeys like this. And I think that if you work that hard to get somewhere or to do something, they should just let you do it.
Yeah.
You know, like, because like when I see videos of people like, you know, down in Mexico going across rivers and stuff, like, let them, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, if somebody, like, I wouldn't do that for a cup of water, you know? Like, the fact that they're doing that for, you know, trying to make their life better just drives me crazy that people are like, no, lazy.
Yeah, it's so insane to me.
Like, I just can't imagine getting all the way up into Canada and then the Canadians being like, oh, you're one of them lazy prospectors, huh? Like, what a crazy term to throw at me.
It's like I've hiked a mountain 17 times today.
Yeah. Nope. Lazy.
Lazy.
Anyways, sorry to bring that up.
No, you're fine. We kind of already covered that. I think the lady pointing out the monkey
thing.
I was gonna say best dumb tourist story, but we don't want to bash on tourists too much because it is a big part of the business. And stuff like that.
But no, the monkey thing was pretty crazy.
I can imagine you get some kids that annoy.
Just an interesting thing. No, the interesting thing are the two-faced old people. Like the people that will, like, you'll see them on the dock yelling at their grandkids or something because they're just stressed out about the vacation. And then as soon as they realize you're the tour guide, they like their eyes will flip and they'll become the sweetest old person ever, as if they weren't just berating this little kid right in front of you. The things like that happens a lot. There are a lot of families and parents that are definitely stressed trying to do this.
Oh, I can imagine.
I had a lady, Shirley, who just about missed her cruise. And that was an interesting thing. She was like minutes away from the ship pulling away.
Oh, they're blowing the horn and everything, and she's running down the dock.
Yeah, and this would have been like the original like port of departure, so I guess Seattle or wherever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they had just made it from Ohio to Seattle or whatever, and then there was traffic or something. They were like down to the minute, not sure that they were going to make it, and then did. One of my favorite stories is just that I stole guests from somebody else's tour one time, and I didn't mean to. But what happened was I was out on the dock collecting people, and this one couple was like, just looking at each other and then looking at me and then thinking, we booked zip lining for today. This guy looks more fun. And then ended up talking to me, and I was like super weird about it. I was like, I'm not sure if this is a thing that's even good form to do.
Yeah.
But go talk to the Shore X over there. And they did and signed the tickets over.
That's so funny.
A lot of the people on the Facebook group are people that I do have like individual stories with. Like, there was this one guy that would laugh at everything, but his laugh seemed so manufactured, or so manicured and so practiced that it was like, I don't know if I'm actually being funny right now or if you're just the biggest jerk in the world.
I get that sometimes at shows where you're like, is that a real laugh? Like,
there's a guy named Rick who was from my hometown that was a magician in town, and whenever you told him any sort of joke, it was just the biggest like laugh, like unreasonable. It's kind of like Jimmy Carr isn't laughing at something you're saying because nobody actually laughs like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's kind of like nobody.
That's a good point.
Like, he would have had to have rehearsed that. Because, again, nobody laughs on the inhale. It's such an unusual thing.
His laugh is one of those things where the first couple times I heard it, I was like, what is it? Is this a bit? Like,
is that supposed to be laughter?
But I love Jimmy Carr.
Oh no, he's great.
He's
got wise stuff to say too. He's not like the one guy I don't like is Ricky Gervais, unfortunately, and it's because of the. It's a joke, don't you get it? It's a joke. You guys are stupid for reacting to it. It's supposed to challenge you and stuff like that, and it's like, well, maybe it just wasn't that great of a joke. Like maybe if the first thing you're gonna do when called out by anybody is just call them stupid instead of giving any validity to any criticism, kind of bugs me. But he does say crazy stuff. Like I did like when he was hosting award shows and he would be more confrontational. But his sensitivity to some people might just not like his jokes is crazy to me. Yeah. Like, for how much money you make, you should probably just get over it.
Especially when most of what he says is to be super controversial. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, maybe it's just because it's controversial. Like,
yeah, but then acting like you then have to go and justify yourself. Like South Park never has. And South Park has never issued an apology. No. So the idea that, or even, they've never even justified anything that they've done. South Park puts it out, and once it's out, it's done. Yeah. Like, they don't put any more work into promoting this episode. Yeah. They don't put any more work into it. It is a snapshot of the moment that they made it in, and it would be crazy for somebody to cancel South Park because of anything. I just think sometimes when you're getting that criticism, to just leave it alone entirely is probably the best move. Because either it'll blow over, which most of the time that it does. Most of the times when you hear someone, part of the cancel culture, who that stuck, it was because of just how psycho they went after they got canceled. And it was like, oh, so when you weren't putting on a front, you're just a crazy person. And maybe we shouldn't put up with you anyways.
So the last thing I wanted to ask you, take a departure from,
That's really good.
Your job.
That's a great lineup of people.
Yeah. Who is the best magician?
Oh my God. So that's Di Vernon, Justin Willman, I believe that's Harry Blackstone, Dynamo, Paul Daniels, Houdini, Juan Tamarez. Down there is a guy that's Dynamo, David Blaine, David Copperfield, Lance Burton, and Penn Teller. And that's just of these people?
No, it can be whoever you want. This is just a lineup of...
I got to tell you, Justin Willman, the second guy over there, he's now, I don't know if you've seen Magic Lover on Netflix.
Oh, yeah, on Netflix.
He does a really good show. And a lot of his mindset is, why am I doing this? And does this fit in today? Mm-hmm. Like, is there a reason that I'm using a newspaper? Is there a reason that I'm using this prop? And if there isn't, then don't have it. Like, it's kind of tricky to go to a Justin Willman show and see, like, a genuine, straightforward card trick anymore, because he's put so much thought into how can I take the same thought of a card trick and use it somewhere else. Like, there was a magic trick where people were putting a Rubik's Cube into a glass bottle, and that was a trick that they had for a while. And he thought, and Chris Angel did the cell phone in bottle, and so did a lot of these guys. But he did a really nice cell phone in bottle on his stage, his Magic Lover special. Mm-hmm. And Magic for Humans was also incredible. So I give him a lot of credit. Just for today, who I think is the top of the game, Justin Willman does it amazing. Houdini's the best all time. Mm-hmm. And the only reason he's the best all time is because of his ability to promote himself and his ability to create a phenomenon. Like, the idea that a lot of the story and the legend behind Houdini we don't even know how much of it's true. Mm-hmm. Like, there are so many stories that only exist because Houdini was trying to promote something some specific way. And so, like, the gel cell escapes and things were always over-publicized more than people had actually seen him do this. But he would go into a town, and then the paper would write up that he did do this, and now it was big advertisement. And then also keeping on the edge of technology as it's happening. He flew planes. I think he was the first person to fly a plane in Australia. which was crazy. He was a silent movie star, not to say a star, I guess, but of his time, they may have been popular films. But he did that. He had his voice recorded on like an Edison phone, like one of those old wax cylinder things. He was always trying to keep up with what the next modern new thing was, almost like Barnum in that way. Juan Tamarez is probably the best card magician in the world. He teaches like a bunch of magicians in Spain, and he's just so unbelievably good at it. He created a thing called mnemonica, which is a shuffled deck of cards effectively, but it's just a way to memorize this entire deck of cards. So you're looking at it and you remember the pattern, and then you know exactly what card is in each position, and then if the cards are cut or moved around, you still know what cards are where. And he's able to do things very quickly with this knowledge that I haven't even tried. Lance Burton was an award-winning magician for like a very long time. Well, he still is, but he was running in Las Vegas for a very long time. He's incredibly talented. Darren Brown is a very good mentalist, which is a new thing that I try to mess with. I've kind of found it hard to justify the idea that I can read minds, but a lot of magic tricks revolve around this concept of being able to read minds. So I am trying to find a good balance on that personally, but Darren Brown is really good at staging and scripting and creating mystery in the same way that David Blaine is. David Blaine can just stop talking, and because we have, as a culture, so much previous understanding of David Blaine, and knowing that at any point he could throw up a frog or something like that.
That's the thing that I always...
David Blaine doesn't even need to be talking. Like, David Blaine can just stop talking and look at the audience, and there's so much tension that he's able to build just because he's him that it's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. It's worth checking him out in a show. Paul Daniels was like a jack-of-all-trades kind of magician in the UK. He did magic shows like every single week, and it would be, or like every single week or maybe month. I don't know how this show was actually produced because I never watched it coming out live. I watched like the YouTube clips of it. But he was probably the most well-known magician in Europe at that time. And then Dynamo was the Chris Angel equivalent in the UK at the exact same time. So Chris Angel, there was a guy named Dynamo, and then there's a guy named Cyril, who was in Japan, I believe. And they were all basically the same character of this magician that's able to do way better than any other magician was able to do. And that was just through the magic of television. But really cool guys. Like, this entire lineup is really good. I think as far as personalities go, there's a magician called Kyle Eschen in... I believe he was in Los Angeles. I don't know where he is today, but he was just known for his very dry sense of humor and his very dry personality that, to me, as like a teenager, was hilarious. And he was a teenager when I was a teenager, so it was really cool seeing him develop that way. And then, who do I think? There's a guy called Aussie Wind who comes up with a lot of really cool stuff. There's a magician, Gregory Wilson, who does a bunch of really cool stuff with just stuff you'd find at a coffee shop or like a pen or whatever. Yeah, there are just a ton of great magicians. There are so many good influences. Penn and Teller, I mean, I could go for hours about Penn and Teller just because I've studied their career like you'd actually study something. Because their trajectory for being unusual and a little bit against what would be considered the show business grain has very well meshed with show business. Like, for some reason, their trajectory has gone very well, you know, as opposed to how it could have gone, considering those two individuals. Yeah. Like, because, individually, they wouldn't have, I mean, not to say that they wouldn't have really worked out, I don't know. But it's just crazy to me to think about the level of success they had starting out like on the street, you know, doing busking shows, and now they're the longest running Las Vegas headliners in history.
I didn't know that.
They are the longest continuous running show. And I think it's been I think it's close to 20-something or 30 years. They just had their 50th anniversary this year,
Wow.
which means they started the same year as Saturday Night Live.
I didn't realize that they were that old.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell they're older, but
I think Penn just turned 70.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Teller's a few years older. And that they might be a little older. I'm not actually certain.
I just wish he didn't talk so much.
Penn?
Yeah, I'm just kidding. No,
No, Teller can talk.
I know. I was just making a joke.
He's got a lot to say too, which is crazy.
Mostly silent every time you see him.
Yeah. Well, when you think about like what in the show that you're seeing is impossible, it's probably Teller. And if you're thinking about like what in the show is funny, it's probably Penn. And that's how their teamwork tends to go.
Yeah, yeah.
But they've also got writers. Well, not to say writers, but they've got an amazing team. And they've got like magicians, like consultants that will come in while they're working on something because they can only know what they know.
Right.
But between the two of them, they've got over a century of working in magic. So, I mean, they should have something substantial. So, like, I don't think that their success is at all unusual or unearned. It was just crazy to think of the original trajectory and think about how they went from doing that to a career that really seems like it could have only happened when it happened. Like where they were like they went off Broadway and then were on David Letterman and then doing all these talk shows before anyone really knew who they were. Like they would have been off Broadway. So, you know, they were really like New York celebrities. But the fact that they were now being projected to the country and doing some of the more memorable bits that you would see on David Letterman. Like there was a interview where they dump a bunch of cockroaches on him, which is a crazy thing. Like he does, like Teller goes out and does this cheesy like handkerchief, flowers out of his sleeve kind of magic act, and he's describing, and they ask for Dave's like opinion of it, and they're taking notes. And Teller takes off his hat after David Letterman says all this mean stuff about him and then puts it on the table. And when he lifts it up, there's like hundreds of cockroaches now crawling all over David Letterman's desk and up his suit and stuff like that. And they immediately like cut to commercial. And apparently David was very upset about this. And basically they very quickly leave the building, and like a week later they get a call from David Letterman saying that was one of the best bits we've ever had on the show, please come back anytime. Which is
that's cool.
Crazy.
That's cool that it worked out like that.
Yeah, which you don't expect. Yeah, definitely when you dump a bunch of cockroaches on a guy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they were thinking they'd never work in show business again. But the fact that still today they are so dedicated to entertaining that Penn is currently in a wheelchair and still doing his Vegas residency.
Really? I didn't know that.
You'll probably see pictures of it in a little over a week. I want to see a Penn wheelchair show.
Yeah.
Because I know it's a very specific era of shows, but he broke his ankle in January going and getting laundry or something.
Oh, he broke his ankle. I thought you were meaning like because of his age. He's
no,
confined
he broke his ankle and now he's just in a wheelchair zooming around the stage. And that sounds like a blast. Yeah. Like, I would love to see what he's changed, what he's doing. And I do hope that he's not on like a bunch of pain medicine when I get there.
Yeah.
Because I have heard that those shows can be a little bit foggy.
Speedy recovery, sir. We hope you
stay well. You're on the you got your own slide.
So real quick,
you can't see it.
Everybody, before you get out of here, tell everybody how to reach you, how to follow you on.
Yeah, for sure. You can follow me on at Nugget Barlow at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They're all pretty consistent, and yeah, that's basically it. Okay. And then I'll be in Skagway, Alaska from April to October, and then there's no sense for you coming up after October. Yeah. So after that, I hope to be I know I'm going to go to France sometime next year.
Oh, that'll
just
be cool.
As a goal. Oh, yeah. I'm really excited about this. This is the first time traveling like abroad out of the country. So I'm not traveling like abroad. I'm traveling like a fella.
Yeah.
But I'm traveling. No, I'm going across the world to go see that. It's for their carnival or whatever they call it, but I'm excited to see it.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, and And then, hopefully I'll be in Vegas by probably January next year and spend a couple months there.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming to do it. I appreciate you. Thank you. Especially considering you're traveling across the country to stop and take time out.
I'm actually incredibly impressed that this worked out.
Yeah, I am too. I couldn't believe it. My daughter sent it to me because you posted something, who do I know in St. Louis? And my daughter screenshot it and sent it to me and was like, Dad, you have to reach out. You have to
talk to Nugget.
Yeah, you have to have him on. And I was like, okay, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad that you did reach out. And thanks for putting us in touch.
Yeah, no worries. We're going to do a show tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. And all right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.